Alright, what is going on, guys? GTA IV Ultimate 1 back again. But this time I'm doing something a little bit different. I know it's been a while since I uploaded an Resident Evil playthrough, but I've been taking a break from it, you know, enjoying pretty much the normal life. But today what I want to talk about is not exactly a UFC video, but it pertains to UFC. I just kind of wanted something to be playing while I talk. So I'm mainly going to let the AI fight this out, but what I'm going to talk about is, okay, everybody knows in UFC that there has been, in UFC, boxing, almost anything that has judging, usually can go bad. It usually can go the other way, or the way we didn't expect it to be. Now, few occasions of things happening like this is bad decisions, such as, if anybody remembers it, Diego Sanchez and Ross Pearson. Ross Pearson dominated Diego Sanchez, but literally Diego Sanchez was given the victory by the judges' scorecards. That was incorrect, as Diego Sanchez was nothing more than really kind of messed up at the moment. He got dominated the entire fight, and it seemed to me that he was not able to put out anything other than missing punches. But what I want to talk about is ways that the UFC and any other place, mainly the UFC, can avoid these bad decisions in a way to save matches from the bad decisions and disappointed fans. But mainly a way for them to actually do that, I have 4 main ways of how it could go for the decisions to actually be decided. Because as we all know, judges can be bought off with any amount of money that can please their pocket. But mainly the way that I can see it is, there are 4 ways. I could see it either as rule number 1, you could pretty much go through and let the fans decide at the very end of the fight. Because the fans are better at taking notes than the judges. How do I know this? Because I take note of how a fight actually goes. I actually take note of who's better in what way if it goes to a decision. Most people can actually judge who is a better fighter and who has dominated the entire match, and who actually is deserving of the win, rather than the judges being bought off and saying that the person who got dominated is the winner. So I would say let the fans decide, so possibly let the fans cheer louder for whoever they thought won. And this would help it because the fans truly do know who more than likely is the winner in the long run. Now, rule number 2, however, the second way that they could more than likely do it is let the commentators decide, like John Anik, Joe Rogan, or any UFC fighter that they have sitting right next to them. Because they more than likely can say they more than likely take better notes than the judges do. I know Joe Rogan has seen multiple bad calls happen, and even on point said that the judges at one point in time should be disappointed in themselves. And I agree with him. I completely agree with Joe Rogan and the commentators who actually note that some of these fighters literally put all of their body on the line and go to a decision only to be cut up short because of somebody getting paid off, or somebody paying the judges off, or them just not liking them and not wanting them to win. If you let the commentators do it, however, the commentators would more than likely have a better idea of it. Like Joe Rogan, I know, can literally judge better than what any judge more than likely could. Because Joe Rogan knows this a lot better than anybody else, and any MMA fighter they have sitting next to them as a special guest more than likely can tell you who won out of the two. And this definitely would just be better than, you know, it just going to a bad decision and not, you know, being the best. Because if you see a fighter that you really just note who's won and them come up short like that, it's obvious that it's something either against them, controversial, or the judges have been paid off. Number 3, for a way they could solve this, is get Dana White to make the decision himself. Now, you're probably thinking, why get Dana White to make the decision himself? Dana White's the president of the UFC. He probably has something more important to deal with. That may be true. However, Dana White has sat multiple times by ringside for almost every single fight. And I guarantee you, he more than likely has felt like a fighter has gotten robbed of his victory when the decision just goes bad against a fighter who clearly dominated, against a fighter who looks like he literally has just been beaten the heck out of for 3 or 5 whole rounds. And I'm sure Dana White could pretty much call a better decision than any of those judges, because he can tell if a fighter is winning or if a fighter is losing. He could probably tell you which fighter won and which fighter lost. I know Dana White could do that because Dana White's got a brain in his head, and Dana White cannot be bought off. I know he can't. Because Dana White is an amazing president, and he's got these fighters here who put their bodies on the line every time they fight. And it feels like a waste when they get denied the victory that they fought so hard for, simply because of judges just wanting the other fighter to win. Either they betted on them, or they've been bought off, or they just don't like the fighter who clearly won. Now, I know Dana White pretty much does have his other things to do, but I tell you, he could judge a fight better than any 3 judges could, because he could tell who is the better man in the situation, better man, better woman. He can tell you who is the best in the decision, because he actually will not be bought off, much like the commentators will not be bought off. You can't buy out people who are dedicated to their job. The judges obviously are not dedicated enough to where they won't change their minds for a couple of $100 or so. And my last idea for what they should do about the judging is base the fight on aggression. Base the fight on how aggressive a fighter is, not by how many punches they've landed or the thing of the 10-point must system. Base it upon which fighter is purely more aggressive and more dominant with their striking, their stand-up. I know that sounds much like the 10-point system, but don't base it upon how many strikes are hit and how many are missed, or how many did not go towards the end of the fight for trying to beat the heck out of them. Just base it upon purely who is the more aggressive fighter and who's putting the pressure on. Because that's the main thing that is different. If you see a fighter putting on pressure and they clearly are dominating the fight, and when it comes down to a decision and it's the fighter who literally got put through all of that aggression, it makes no sense, because they have clearly just been beaten the heck out of, yet they're given the win off of either bad decision making or or just simply they've been paid off. So based upon how aggressive a fighter is, and it would make many decisions a lot more cleaner, because people could clearly tell who dominated the fight and who didn't. But with that, that's all that I really wanted to say, because these are all of the ideas I had for how they could come up with a better way of stopping these bad decisions. This was my way of saying of how they should stop them. That's how I think they should stop them. And also, if anybody watching happens to know Dana White, if they know his email or him in general, please, if it's not too much trouble, tell him to look this video up and take in consideration of just how these could possibly affect the way bad judging decisions happened, and how they could have been avoided by using any of these. Because I feel like he'd be saving the shows a lot of, he would be giving people a lot of happy fans. Everybody would be happy if the decisions were the right way that they should have been. So if it's not too much trouble, if anybody does know Dana White, either his email or anything, email him, phone him, or really anything. Just ask him if it's not too much trouble to look at this and possibly see if he can discuss it with the athletic commission, for the people who make the judges' rulings and such, and just see if they can change this, because it probably will help save a lot of bad decision making in the near future. And it'll save a lot of fights from very bad endings. That's really all I wanted to say. And I hope that somebody does possibly know him. If they don't, then it's no biggie. I just hope you guys didn't mind listening to me sort of like ramble on about how I think they could save the bad decision making. But if you guys think that you have some other possible ways to stop the judges from making bad decisions or avoid these controversial decision makings, you can leave a comment and maybe it'll get noticed by anybody who scrolls through the description into the comments. But that's all that I have for you guys today. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.